So welcome, Drew.
Hi, Karen. Great to be with you today.
Yeah, fantastic. In sunny Arizona. I don't know if it's sunny today, but it's not
It
here.
is. Well, at least where I'm at. Yeah, it's sunny here. Sunny and warm.
That's fantastic. We're just starting to come into I know we're still in spring, but I believe we're having a very hot summer, and I'm not looking forward to that. Absolutely not. But anyway, you'll get some relief soon. So, Drew, you are known as the everyday sales leader, and I got to admit, sales is not my big thing. It's not probably not the big thing for most people listening to this, but it's a very interesting conversation regardless. And yeah, but. Is there anything you want to say before I'm going to jump straight
Well,
into asking you
no,
something?
no, that's fine. I used to kind of feel the same way about sales. That's the funny part about it. So if you asked me, probably well, I don't know about 5 years ago, but 10 years ago, if you asked me what I did, I would tell you anything and everything, but that I was in sales. So so I understand why you feel that way.
Yeah, it doesn't mean I'm not. I'm okay at it, but it's not. It
Right.
doesn't. I don't. I do it because I have to, and definitely not
Yeah.
because I want to. And it's yeah. But it. I know a lot of people are really scared of it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I do want to get into that a little bit and just sort of put some people's mind at ease as to how they might be more comfortable with it. Before we
Yeah.
start though, I mean, there's a lot of stuff about you. You got a podcast, you're a pilot. I want to talk about that too. That intrigues me. But this sort of you started on this journey because of an accident with your baby. What happened? Like, like what? Yeah, like what happened in that incident, and what were you doing before, and why did it shove you over to where you are now?
Yeah, yeah. I've had kind of two shifts, I guess two moments where I've gotten off the bench, so to speak, and that first one was around the time that happened. So, I had been working in a job I actually thought was going to be my career, and didn't have quite the freedom that I wanted in it, and so made a career change. And I was in sales, selling in a market a couple hours from home. And so I had an apartment outside of town. So we didn't know if it was going to be a long-term thing or not. And we were kind of exploring that. And so my wife, she would sometimes come and bring the kids up a couple days a week. And one day I'm getting done wrapping up. I call her and say, "Hey, I'm going to be home 15 minutes. Let's get the kids ready, jump in the car. We'll head back to our home 2 hours away." As I'm start pulling into the apartments, and come through the gate, I remember hearing sirens,
Oh,
um, ambulance coming the opposite way. I pulled up to our apartment, opened the door, and my wife was kneeling over our 6 month old at the time in the middle of the room. She was in tears. A couple of my little kids were in tears, um, and she I could tell something was wrong. My son was breathing. His wheezing sounded bad, and that ambulance I heard the paramedics were rushing in moments behind me kind of pushed me out of the way, to go check on my son. And they loaded him up and my wife up, and they went in the ambulance and headed to the hospital. And I was kind of left to wonder what was going to happen. And lot of miracles that day. I'm a man of faith. We believe in God, and believe that there was some miracles that saved his life. But ultimately, what happened was, he was rushed to the hospital. So they started doing tests on him. He was misdiagnosed with a heart condition. For the
mm,
next probably 2 months, my wife especially, but we were worried at any moment this could happen again, or something,
mm.
like, it's going to just pass away. And turns out it was a misdiagnosis. And what we believe actually happened now is we knew he had a hernia, because he was scheduled for a surgery for a hernia. Kind of funny to have a 6 month old baby to have a
Mm.
hernia.
Yeah.
But he had rolled over in his pack and play, and after inspecting the pack and play afterwards, we noticed the slat in the pack and play was broken, and we believe he got his face caught down in that
Oh, wow.
indention, and that between the hernia and rolling over, he couldn't either lift his face out or roll back over. And we believe it actually was him suffocating to death.
Oh,
And that that traumatic experience to his body led to some of the heart the testing that made it look like maybe it was a heart issue. Um, so that was a traumatic event. No, we're grateful he was okay, but my wife to pick up a baby limping gray and not breathing,
Yeah.
very scary experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he is almost 7 now. He's perfectly fine, growing little boy. So the story ends well. And where I guess that was a turning point for me is I had actually just made a career change. And part of the reason I made that career change is I thought, hey, this is more money. This is going to be better
Mm.
for our family, provide more opportunities. Um, I I spent a lot of time because I was in a new role, starting to study sales at a deeper level and get into it more and more. And my wife, she went through at that time, she went through um, there was a lot of prayer, but she also went through some therapy and working with professionals. And one of the things we realized is we had some of the best conversations we'd ever had in our marriage.
Mm.
And I was doing a very good job of helping her talk through what she was feeling, interpret her emotions, clarify what she meant, not just to me, but to herself. And I realized, man, this is everything I've been learning in sales.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and and so I like to say, and we don't have to make this whole podcast for your listener isn't going to just be about sales, but I like to say that sales is life. Like you can't get better at sales and communication and not see it impact every area of your life. And so
Yeah.
I used to think I made that career change for the money and for the experience. And now I believe that if I hadn't made that first change, I wasn't the husband my wife needed for
Mm.
that time. And so several years later, I was having a lot of success building big teams, making the most money I'd ever made, and just felt this calling to help other people. And if you don't like sales, you can probably relate to, you see the people on Instagram where they're trying to twist your arms and
Oh, I hate that. Yep. Yep.
teach things that don't feel good when it
Yep.
in terms of influence or connecting with people. And so for
Yep.
me it was I'm gonna I'm gonna walk away from what I'm doing because I want to teach people how to build sales teams and grow in their business. I do business coaching as well.
Yep.
Away from what I was doing, I love the two things I love talking about are leadership. That's what our podcast is
Yep.
about, and also sales. And I just want to help people see themselves as, hey, I'm a leader, or hey, I can do sales.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
And so
I
that's
love that. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I think that's the difference, isn't it? It's am I trying to help somebody get
yeah,
better or feel better or get out of pain or to aspire to something, as opposed to do I just want to screw you over to make money? And there are some
right.
scrupulous bastards out there that are just awful, really awful. So,
Yeah,
and I think, yeah, that's what sort of has changed my mind too. If I've got something that's helping people, I'm happy to sell it.
yeah,
Absolutely happy. And I believe in a value exchange as well. So
right.
I actually believe in abundance exchange. So that I always give more
Love
than
that.
what I promise. But the scrupulous, like on LinkedIn, people, they connect with you. I love your page, blah blah blah, and then they're like, "Hey, guess what I do?" Blah blah blah, and it's
Yeah,
kind of like, "Oh God, leave me alone." But yeah, so
another one.
yeah, yeah. So tell us, like, what. Okay, you because at the start you said I'll make you love sales. So go on, tell us that.
Well, I like what you said, Karen, a second ago, that you if you're helping someone, then it's okay, or that it's a good thing. And I think that's part of one what and maybe the difference for me is I've actually, okay, so a little bit of a confession. I did enjoy sales. I just didn't enjoy the way people looked at me because I did sales, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
So
that makes
like
sense.
I actually enjoyed it, and I didn't want to tell people I was in sales because I didn't want to be labeled the car salesman or the
Yeah, yeah,
or be viewed that way. And what I've come to find over the years is if you're really in alignment with the product or service that you offer and you really believe in it, it's going to help some people and there's others it's not. And
yeah,
so for me, part of it is if I know this is going to help you, then I have a moral obligation to show you why it could help you. Your life's going to be better off if I do. It's going to be worse off if I don't. If if it's not for you, that's okay too. I think that's one of the problems is people feel like, well, I've got to sell people even if it's not in their best interest. I don't think
Mm.
that's the case at all.
Yeah.
So,
I agree with that. A few years ago, I learned this statement: never try to convince anybody, but always stand in your conviction. And
mm,
that was like, wow, that just hit me so hard. And it's like, well, my conviction is that I've got something that will help people, just particularly around confidence. And that's a whole big, that's very misunderstood. But
yeah.
how can I show up? How can I step into myself? How can I be okay with who I am, knowing that I am enough, and that I've got it, and I do leadership as well, and I can do leadership. I don't have to have some degree to do it. I just have to show
Yeah.
up authentically, vulnerably, and
Hmm.
and help people, help other people. So, essentially, of course, it's bigger than that. But but when I heard that conviction, stand in your conviction, don't try to convince. I thought, I love
Mm,
that, because all these fake buggers, it's convince, you scream in your face, yell in your face, and then you say no, thank you. Oh yeah, but I've got this other thing, and
mhm.
it's kind of like, you don't need to do that, and I never do that. I advertise and show people what I've got, and if they reach out, I give them what I've got. But I'll follow up to say, did you have any thoughts? You still interested? If not, that's fine. And then I leave it. I don't do the multiple follow-ups, but maybe I'm wrong. But that's how I'm going to keep doing it, no matter what you say.
Well, hey, if it's working, then yeah.
It works. Yeah,
Right. That's awesome.
yeah. So with your coaching, are you do do you when you say like leadership is sales, and helps all that sort of
Mm.
stuff, is it two separate things? Do you support people? Well, I have got about five questions in this. Do you support people as solely as leaders and others solely as salespeople, or do you also help small business owners or medium business, to
Yeah.
encapsulate both? And I don't know, there's a lot in that,
No,
isn't there?
great question. Yeah. So I would say the groups I want to work with the most are usually the business owner that is building their team and they want to build and attract a sales team. Those are often some of the hardest seats to fill in an
Yep,
organization. They usually
yep,
have the highest turnover. And so how do we attract good salespeople to our organization and then create processes and systems so they can thrive and be productive in our organization?
mm,
And so sometimes that would be the ideal client for
yep,
me, is someone that,
yep,
hey, we're building a sales team and we need a little bit of help. Maybe I'm the business
yep,
owner that's had some success, and now I'm trying not to wear all the hats at once, and I
yep,
want to start bringing on and creating some sales roles. How do I do that? I've never done that before.
yep,
So I love to come in and help those people, but I do some one-on-one coaching as well. So I have some clients where he didn't actually, one client I'm working with currently, he's a leader of an organization, and he's over sales, but he's not like a sales trainer or anything. It's just
mm,
the department he oversees. And for him, it's been, hey, help me become more confident.
yep,
And so we've mostly focused on how do we develop you as a leader. So when you feel like you're up at the front of the room, you're not feeling like a fraud when you
yep, yeah,
talk to your team.
yeah. So why is there such high turnover in sales?
One, it's difficult.
Yeah,
As you said, a lot of people get into it and realize, oh, this isn't for me. The rejection, or
yeah,
the I don't like following up with people, or I don't want to feel like I'm
yeah,
bugging people.
yeah,
So I think that's part of it. Especially if it's commission based. If you don't do well, you
yeah,
usually
yeah,
don't get a paycheck, and so
yeah,
that creates a lot of turnover. I think another thing I've been studying uh, is that the data shows that a lot of salespeople, they care a lot about the mission and purpose, and I think we're starting to see
mm,
that more in
mm,
these younger, the
yeah,
millennial and
yeah,
Gen Z.
yeah,
There's less of that. Hey, we're going to go work somewhere for 40 years.
yeah,
So if someone's going to stay at an organization, it's really important to them to have a purpose. And so I
mm,
think sometimes people think the salespeople only care about the paycheck, and usually that's a carrot that motivates them.
yeah,
But if if you make the job all about the money, as soon as someone else comes along and says, "Hey, I can you can do the same job here and we'll pay you a higher commission," you'll
Yeah.
see that person leave
Yeah.
if the
Yeah.
culture and the foundation isn't strong.
Mm. Do you
Among a
think
few, there's a few other reasons, but
the
probably
what?
those are the main ones.
Yeah,
I said
yeah,
among a
yeah,
few
yeah.
others, but those are probably the main ones.
Yeah. And it's particularly interesting with the younger generations, that they really I don't know if I'd say they really are more ethical, but they definitely lean more into the ethics of of what's going on in the organization. But well, as in, are you doing, are you supporting the greater good? And if you're not, if
Right.
you're a scrupulous, underhanded organization, I don't want to work for you. That? Whereas that was different in the past. It was what could give me more money to pay off my mortgage. But do you think the thing I find with any sales, and I'm not a sales expert, but this is if someone's selling to me, or if I'm working with people, is building that relationship. It's cold calling and just sort of sprouting out rubbish, hoping it lands, throwing spaghetti at someone and just, maybe a couple of bits will stick. That's there's no connection in that. So
Right.
this building a relationship, and it doesn't have to be where, now that I've rang you up about buying a vacuum cleaner, can we be best friends? Not that kind of
Right.
stuff, but just that connection. Do you talk much about that with you when you're training people and how to do that?
Yeah, I think trust is a huge part of
Yeah,
success in sales. Can we establish trust? And
yeah,
I used to think trust meant, well, I got to find the sports team they like, and we'll
yeah,
we'll talk
yeah,
about the same sports. And those things are good. I'm not saying
yeah.
you can't small talk, and I think there's a place for that. Like small talk's important, but a lot of times I found the quickest way you build trust is you show them you're an expert. An analogy someone gave me once, it's like if you went into the doctor and you said, "Hey, having some lower back pain," and then the doctor said things like, "Hey, well," it starts asking you questions. Okay, when do you feel that? How bad does it hurt? Oh, do you also notice when you get up in the morning and you step out of bed, you also feel some pain in your feet? Oh,
Mm,
yeah, I did notice that. And all of a
yeah,
sudden, this doctor's he's telling you things about yourself that you didn't realize maybe were even a problem or even
yeah,
connected.
yeah.
And I found a good salesperson, they ask good questions and they
Mm,
show that they understand your problems and what you're going through.
yeah,
And that
yeah.
when they can do that, a lot of trust can be built quickly.
Mm, that's a good point. Yeah, it's kind of like if you went to the doctor and they said, "Oh, I'm having lower back pain." Oh, do you notice you get that in the morning? By the way, which team do you follow? Yeah, you'd probably be going, "Oh shit."
Right.
Yeah, actually, like that's very nice, but can you just deal with my back? Yeah, that's a
Right.
good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. And if you really do know what you're doing, you will be able to add in all those extra bits that the person's not even noticing. And actually, that's very, now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, now I'm thinking about it. A lot of people tell you what's wrong with them, but it's actually not the thing. Now I'm
Mm.
now I'm sort of having a bit of a bigger view. We got a problem with this, and then you say you've also got a problem with that. Oh yeah, well yeah. I was just thinking we get to the other one first. No, you're just trying to get to the easy one first, actually, and you're trying to avoid the big problem.
Yeah. And most people think about their product or services. This is my experience, at least. A lot of times, what the client thinks their problem is actually the symptom, and
That's right.
often
Yeah,
you've got to solve a bigger problem to sometimes take care of those
yeah,
symptoms. And
yeah,
so yeah, and what I have found is when I talk to a good salesperson, I feel like at the end of the day that I'm the one who made the decision, that I
yeah,
wasn't talked into anything. And
yeah,
so to me, a good salesperson, they're going to ask me questions that allow me to think through something so I can decide, is this a good fit or not for
yeah,
me?
yeah, yeah. I love that. Um, Now, I just had a question on top of my head right then, and that point you just said is threw me because that sent me on a whole other trajectory, thinking, yeah, that's a really good point. Um, no, the long-term game. That's what I was going to ask you. Do
Mm.
you how important do you think that is in sales? I think it's, well, I guess it depends what you're selling, doesn't it? Actually, but I think if you're selling services, it's a really important thing to be willing to play that long game, and Well, I think. What do you think? You know sales much
Yeah.
better than me.
Well, and when you say the long game, do you mean just like the long-term relationship with the client or the long-term
Before
communication?
you get
What
the sale, yeah. No,
before you
yeah,
get the sale?
I think it's just that coming back to touch points. Do you know that I notice a lot of people interacting with my posts on LinkedIn, and I actually notice a pattern. You know that there's the occasional, then it sort of starts to amp up, and then they'll reach
Mm-hmm.
out. You know
And
that kind of, yeah, and it's kind of like if you were to jump in and say, "Hey, I saw you looking at my post, and let me tell you what I sell," that probably you'd scare them away, maybe. I'm only thinking about what I do. Like my
yeah,
my sales mind is not out at vacuum cleaners or anywhere else. I don't,
yeah.
no idea. But yeah, it seems to be that it's that you keep showing up in front of them, and it
Mm-hmm.
builds that trust, and it builds that
Yeah,
presence, and it builds that, oh, she's there again. It's a reliability, I think. And then they trust that you're not going anywhere. They trust that you're still
yeah.
saying the same stuff. They trust that your character hasn't is not bouncing all over the
Yeah,
shop.
I think I understand what you're saying now, Karen. Yeah, I've noticed, and maybe you can say the same thing where you'll have someone that reaches out and they are talking about stuff they saw you post 6 or 12 months before, and
Yeah, yeah,
they've my friend and I, we call those people lurkers, where they're like always
yeah,
watching, but you you don't even recognize that. You maybe don't maybe they're not even commenting or
yeah,
or liking your posts. And I think I there is a difference between sales and marketing. I'm not a marketing expert, and I've found the better your marketing is, or the better you stay in front of people, the easier that makes that sales
yeah, yeah,
conversation when the time comes, for sure.
yeah.
And it doesn't
And
feel like selling when the marketing's done a great job. So
yeah, that's and I think the best marketing is to show up authentically.
yeah,
Like, I mean, I know there's other tricks and all that kind of stuff, but people got to trust you. And I'd like that you said that, because I think trust is the biggest, yeah, the biggest thing. But it's funny. When you're saying about lurkers, and I'm not going to call mine lurkers because I feel like it's a bit creepy. But I've had so many people say to me, oh, that podcast with so and so is great, and I don't even know who they
mm,
are, and that doesn't mean I don't care. I don't care who they are.
right.
It's just like people have come out of the blue, and I'm like, oh my God, I would never have known that you listen to that podcast. And I was getting my hair cut one day, and this woman was saying, "Oh, you've got that podcast," and I'm like, "Yeah," and she said, "I listen to that every week," and
Huh.
I wouldn't. You don't know. And another woman, I remember doing an online forum. I was emceeing some event, and this woman typed in the chat. She said, "You're my morning companion," and I said, what do you mean? Whoever wrote that, what do you mean? And she typed in, I go for a walk every morning and listen to your podcast while I'm having a walk. And she said, and it changes her day. And
Yeah,
it, I think that's important marketing. I think that sort of
yeah,
showing up is showing up when you don't even know you're showing up. That saying, like Jeff Bezos or others say, it's what people say when you're not in the room. So it's sort of not, for me, it's not targeting people. It's just showing up. And
I love that. That
although
resonates with me.
it's nice, and that's the way I prefer to live, only because it suits me better and I don't need to be banging on, too much. But that might not work for some people either, because you
Yeah,
can't put bread and butter on your table if you're just, doing a dance every morning and hoping somebody enjoys it. Like, I think you've got to
yeah,
do something, but it's an interesting topic, isn't it?
yeah. Well, and on that note, I think when you're authentic, the people that it helps you attract your people better. They see who
Yeah.
you are and they say, that's the person I want to be with. And
Yeah.
I think some fear the authenticity, being authentic, because they're afraid it'll scare people away. Well,
They're not your right
why would?
people.
Yeah, they're not the right people for
Yeah.
you to be with, or
Yeah.
to be working with. And so, no, I think what, and I feel like, because I've been asked a lot lately, especially with AI, like, well, is sales even going to be important with AI. And I think there are going to be some roles and positions that are replaced, and then I also think there's going to be some things where it's more complex, where someone needs to talk to a human,
Mm.
where it's going to become more important because people want to talk to someone where they can have an authentic conversation
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
really figure things out. So
I agree. I get a little bit annoyed with those little the ask me a question bots, that pop up, and I think I don't want to ask you a question because I know you're not real, and if and I do like to ring up and you can't, like that sort of stuff. And sometimes you got a problem that, and I know this with website stuff, or whatever, and I type in the problem and it says, oh, it's this. And I'm like, no, it's not that. And then I have to go through that whole damn process just to be able to send an email. And then they still come back and say, no, that's not your problem. And there's no problem. And it's like, oh, just ring me up. Can I just bloody ring you up? Yeah, I know. I don't, yeah, AI is a funny thing, isn't it? I quite like AI if it's used ethically and used to support something, or to generate something that then sprouts other idea or something like that. Yeah, but not this write me a book. Yeah, because it
yeah,
can, but not yeah. When
yeah, I think it's a tool.
you what?
I said I think it's a tool, right?
Yeah,
It
I
can
think it's a
be,
tool.
it's used
Yeah.
appropriately. It's a great thing.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I think it's great. Well, you go back to rejection. You talked about that before. Do you know the fear of rejection? Um, in your experience working with salespeople, do you feel like a person is, how do I say this? Like, there are some people who just take rejection, it's just their personality, they just feel like it's personalized and they just will never do any good in sales. Do you know that? Or do you feel like it's something that you have to learn learn to master, that it's not personal? And how do
Mm,
people do that? Because I think rejection's a good thing because I think it's just redirection. It's just moving me away from something that's I don't want need to be there. But I know a lot of people hate rejection. So
mhm.
how do you work with that with people?
Yeah, I do think, I think everyone can improve at sales, and I think it comes naturally more to some than others. So I think anybody can learn to get better and to communicate more clearly and to ask better questions. And I also think for some it's okay to say, hey, sales isn't the role for me. Like
Mm,
I'd rather have a position where I'm, you know, paid off my time or paid off, some a different type of outcome, than I am for sales. And I think my skin's gotten thicker over time. So I
yep.
think I think you can develop, a resistance to rejection. I'll tell you, I still get butterflies every time I got to pick up the phone or go out and make a sales call. So even doing it for 15 years and that being the primary thing I do, I still get nervous and I still don't love it, at times. And I think it's something you can get better at. And I think that I think there's usually what I found is the bigger problem is the anticipation of the rejection than the rejection of itself.
Yeah.
Where we,
Yeah.
we used to joke. I used to work in an insurance office, and we joked that when it was time to pick up our phones, the phone suddenly weighed 1,000 pounds.
Yep. Yep.
And and so I found for a lot of salespeople, it actually isn't even the rejection. It's just they are thinking so much about having to do the awful thing that
Mm,
that's what stops them. And that probably
yep.
applies in a lot of other areas of life,
Mm, yeah.
but I think it's usually more often that than the actual rejection of itself, but it's part of it.
Mm. It's big, isn't it? I wonder if isolation, because since COVID, and we've all sort of started working from home and everything else, and we've lost a lot of human connection. We've lost that ability just to have, well, not all of us, but, there's a big decrease in people's ability to communicate with other people. Do you think that, are you seeing that? Like that people are just like, I want to do sales, but I don't want to talk to anybody?
Want to do sales and not talk to anybody?
Yeah, no, like, well, I'd rather just send them an email or I'd rather just
Oh,
spam them with rubbish, that sort of
I,
stuff.
I do see that. I've seen that a lot. Now I'm 36. I guess I'm in the millennial age range, but I have seen the younger generation even less likely to want to pick up the phone or
Mm,
have a sales conversation. So I think we're seeing more of that. And to your point though, I I recognize, I mean, I love that I can talk to someone in Australia like this, and this
yeah,
is that we're living in a world where this can happen where I'm in
yeah,
Arizona in the US.
yeah.
And there's something to, I've noticed that if I spend all day in this room doing this, like there's something about being with people in person that can't be replaced.
I
So
agree. I agree. I run all my programs. A lot of people say to me, do an online one, do an online one. Oh, I just want to join your program, but I'm in Sydney, or I'm in Brisbane, or I'm in Arizona. I don't know. And I'm like, yeah. And to be honest, I have put that on the back burner, and it's mostly time. I just, it means I've got another fine place to slot another program in. But I have got a real, oh, it's almost like an addiction, to being in a room with people in person. I do all my coaching online, and because it's just not feasible. It's not feasible to
yeah,
be with everyone.
right.
But almost all of my coaching, almost, is coaching people that are in my programs that I see once a month in a room. So you've already got that. But I
Yeah.
agree with you. I think that in person you see little twitches in the body, you feel the sparks between people. It,
Mhm.
I love it so much, and I know I'm probably leaving money on the table, not doing more online stuff, but God, I love being in that room with people, and
Yeah.
going out for coffee. Honestly, I built my business because what a dickhead. I decided to start it right in COVID, but that's okay. That's fine. So a lot of people did too. Actually, a lot of us, it was just kind of like, well, might as well do it now. I
Yeah.
can't go do my other job, but I was already working for myself as a behavior specialist, but but then it became you can't be with people, and then I'm like, nah, I actually like some other stuff a bit better. So I think I might just start leaning into that. But now what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So I built my whole business that first year on building relationships and going out for coffee with people. And it wasn't to sell, it was just, this is a great opportunity to just get out there and see who's around and just have coffee with people that I wouldn't normally have coffee with. And when you could, all that kind of crap, go, quick, the world's open for 2 hours, go have a coffee, that kind of stuff. Shut down again. But I reckon that has made a massive difference to my business, just spending that
Mhm.
first year, having so many catch ups with people. It made the world a difference to me. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm about a year and a half into what I'm doing from what I walked away from, and I'm starting to see um, relationships that I was working actively on a year and a half ago. Not even, once again, not even necessarily because I had something to sell, but
Yeah.
we were aligned in similar
Yeah.
interests or beliefs,
Yeah.
and just keeping those relationships. It's like now there's opportunities that are just starting to connect
Yeah.
me with some of those people over and over again. And
Yeah.
so yeah, there's something to being with people and connecting with them and
Yeah.
getting out of your getting out off your computer every once in a while.
I know. And it's not that connecting to go, oh, the long game, like I talked about before. If I'm nice to them now, they'll buy
Right.
something off me. It's not that. It's like I enjoy being with you. I actually love, like I've had some people that I've done work with for their organization, but now we catch up for coffee as friends. Like now we're just like constantly catching up, and I still do work for them. But there's several like that. But we have a lot of coffees as friends, and there's absolutely zero talk about work. It's just
Yeah.
nothing. Don't talk about it. Talk about puppy dogs and stuff like that. It's great.
Yeah. Well, maybe you've probably heard this too. before. Some people say you shouldn't do business with friends, and I'm like, then why would I want to do business with somebody if we're not if we're not
Yeah.
going to be friends? Doesn't mean just because we're friends we should do business.
No, that's
But
right.
I'd rather become friends with the people I'm working with. It's a lot
So
more
would
fun.
I. And I think it's much easier to sell. For me, it's kind of like, they ask me to do something and I say, all right, well, I'm going to tell you how much it's going to cost so that we can just get that off the table. And then they go, yeah, that's all right. I'll find that in the budget. No worries. And because you've got that friendliness, the money just goes blah, 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 and it's gone. And now we just get on with the other shit. Whereas if you don't know them, you're like, oh my God, got to, I wonder what their budget is. That sort of stuff. But yeah. Oh, you said something else important in there. See, I keep catching little words you're saying and thinking, God, that's important. And now I can't remember what it is. I think I'm getting old. I know what you I was going to say. When you said, well, you know what? I thought you were going to say, Karen, you've got way too much time on your hands if you're having coffees with people.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking, how do I do more of those? How do I, what do I got to do to get more of those? Yeah,
No, I haven't
have
got
more
too much time.
time. That's funny.
I live sort of a little bit out of where I do most of the work. So I live like an hour away from where most of my work is, although there is a lot of work up an hour the other way. But what I'll do is if I don't have work on and I've got to go to that area for some, I'll line up 3 or 4 coffee dates,
Yeah,
and have lunch with one and morning tea with another, and probably come home way too bloated, but it works, and so that's how I do it. I don't. I batch my
that's
togetherness.
great.
One of your taglines is "Life's too short," and Drew, that's my. I'm very big on that tagline as well. And I lost my sister. Oh, would be 20, just over 20 years ago to cancer, and she was 33. And that really got me thinking, fuck, just go for it. Just, mind you, I say that, but it took me 11 years after she died to figure out what I wanted to do. So my first book, Magnificent Kids, that I didn't release that till I was 50, so it took me 11 years to sort of, well, what kind of, if life is too short, but what are you going to do with it, Karen? And that book was about 23 kids around the world that were doing world-changing projects, and they were all kids. And I was 50, and it made me go, what the hell is wrong with you? Not, these are little kids, and you are 50 and you're saying life's too short. You've lost someone dear to you. Get the hell off your ass and do something. And at that time, I didn't have Get Off the Bench. I'd launched a few other things, and like the book and a not for profit in Africa, and also a women's empowerment conferences and all that sort of stuff. And someone asked me to speak at a do a workshop at a conference, and I said, "What are you going to call it? What do you want me to do?" And he said, "Show people how to kickstart projects and I don't know, get off the bench." And I thought, yeah, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So then it became a book, and the podcast and everything else. So I love this Life's Too Short business, and I know that I'm 63, you're 30 something, I'm almost double your age, so my energy is like, I know you might think I'm energetic, but Jesus Christ, I need more recovery time than you, I'm sure. But it's you know I'm finding that it's harder as I'm aging, to keep up with all the things I want to do, that sort of stuff. But for you in your 30s, like, what what else do you want to achieve? So, like, when you say life's too short, what do you imagine if you had a decent life, like till 80 at least? I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you see, it being filled with, that you would be happy to be on your deathbed and go, God, I lived a great life. That was great.
I think it would be great memories, and kind of why I feel that way is a few years ago after I'd made this career change, after that incident happened, I had the most success I'd ever had personally and professionally. I guess from the world's perspective, I was making more money than I'd ever made. My team was growing and thriving, and I kind of felt empty through all that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think part of why I felt empty, I would have killed years earlier to make the money I was making at that time. And
Mm.
but I was also busier than I had ever been, and was often from sun up till sundown working, and
Yeah.
my kids never saw me, and I was missing the t-ball games and the plays,
Yeah.
and maybe I'd catch some of them. And I was just asking one of my kids the other day, hey, do you remember when Dad used to do his old job, like his old sales job, how that went? And yeah, do you remember that time? And my son, he's what, 9 years old. So he's like, yeah, Dad, you were always working and you were never around. Like,
Oh,
and so
wow.
that 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 killed me quite a bit, to know that my kids and my family felt a little bit that way. And I used to think that freedom was, hey, if I have enough time and I have enough money,
Mm.
that's what's going to make me free. And I still want to have time and I still want to have money.
Mm. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and
Yeah.
those are things that I want. But I've also found what I really want is, when I have moments of silence, not to be worried, not to be anxious.
Yeah.
And I think you can find that whether your schedule's busy, whether it's open,
Yeah.
whether you're making a lot of money, whether you're not. And that is just as important to me. And so I think at the end of my life, if I was on my deathbed and thinking about, was this a great life, it'd be, hey, did we enjoy the moments together as a family? Was I present, or was I? Because what I found even a couple years ago, sorry, Karen, you got me
No,
rambling,
I love it. No, do
is
it. No, it's great.
is I found, even when I was making great money, when I did take a week off of work, and uh, all all my free time was thinking about how I could be doing more and working more and making
Mm.
more.
Yeah.
And so that wasn't healthy either. So I mean, I got some coaching for myself, and did a lot of work on myself the last couple of years to help get overcome some of those things. And I found, I can choose to be happy regardless of my circumstances.
Yeah.
And I'd rather be happy and present, and I have some things I still want to chase and pursue and
Yeah.
do.
Which you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
didn't that's a real cats in the cradle moment, isn't it? When your kids say
Yeah.
you're not present. Wow.
Yeah.
That's yeah, that's when you're talking about freedom and flexibility and finding those moments. I mean, I have it, you would have it now because we're in charge of our own schedule. And we that's the first thing I build in. I build in an hour's walk every morning and with my partner, and with the dogs. And so to make sure that even if the rest of the day goes to shit, we've had that really lovely chunk of time
Yeah.
together. And but plus also just those little freedoms, that you can take the dogs to the vet, or you can, if you got a, we've got a little farm, if we've got a vet coming out for the donkey, I've got the time to, I've got blocks, where I can have a vet come
Hmm.
out and I'm not sort of screaming around. But also the freedom as far as money goes. And yes, you can have great financial freedom if you've got a really high stress job, and you got all this money and everything else. But you're spending it on your heart attack. Like that? That's what I
Yeah.
kind of think. Mind you, hands up, we might all have a heart attack. Like the way the world's going, Christ knows what comes around the corner. But I find that it's they say money can't buy happiness, but what I've found is that it buys happiness by reducing stress. Because if we've got a vet bill, I know I can pay it. So we're not living a life of luxury, but I know I can pay that vet bill. I know I can put food on the table. I know that if the car breaks down, I can pay for it to get fixed. And I remember living, I was single and I had a little farm, and I was spending all my income when I was working for an organization on vet bills, on
Mm.
hay for the cows, on paying my mortgage and everything else. And it would just leave me to be living on pasta and veggies, or rice and veggies like every single night. And and which I loved anyway. But it was I was there was never any luxury spending, and every time I had to pay a vet bill, I would stress about I'm going to have to pay it off. And I'd have to sit down on my laptop with a little budget and figure out where I was going to get money from and when my registration was due. Having that financial freedom in your own work, you can now determine when I work, when I don't, how much I need, and what are your thoughts on that? Do you agree that's it's a game changer for your life?
Yeah, I think so. I think I mean, I'm not a big Dave Ramsey follower by any means, but I've heard him talk about, he talks about just the importance of having a savings, for example, is then when $1,000 thing comes up, it's not a big emergency anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I don't know what that equates to in Australian.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually good in Australian. That's about $1,600. That's great.
Okay, there we go. um, but yeah, um, I think there's definitely peace of mind that comes if you have financial security of sorts, for sure. So I'm not saying at all that that's not important, and I want to live a life where, hey, whether I've got a lot or a little, I can still be happy.
Yeah, it's just
So
finding that balance, isn't it?
yeah,
But
yeah,
when
and
you
I think
start,
there's
go
go ahead.
on. No, you
I
go
was gonna
ahead.
say, I think there's seasons of I've found that even in what I'm doing now, there's going to probably be some seasons of work, and there's probably going to be some seasons of play, and
Yeah,
there'll probably be days where I'm working a lot because of a
yeah,
project or something important, and there's going to be
yeah.
times where, hey, we're going to relax and rest a little bit more.
Oh, I agree, and that's how I have it too. And I'm not saying there's some days I'm still sitting here at 11 o'clock at night because there's
Yeah,
something critical that has to be done. But it's not a pattern. It's not an every night doing that. But when you sort of left your other job and you decided my heart's empty, this isn't working, and I'm going to work for myself, because this podcast is very much focused on this, trying to inspire people to. Now, I'm not trying to inspire people to take a risky leap, but I am trying to inspire
sure.
people to really consider, am I happy? And is there an idea that I've got that if I could make it successful, I would be happy? And then how do I take many steps to make it successful? But when you had this sort of dream, I want to work on my own. I want to be fulfilled. I want my kids to have time. Did you was there a moment you shit your pants? Like what? How am I going to make
Some
this
days I still
work?
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the good thing for me is having one thing that can has been a benefit is I've been in sales and worked on commission only. So I've
Yeah.
known I'm betting on myself. So that has been
Yeah.
that was very helpful in, taking this leap and getting off the bench. Um, because I've done that before. I've been in
Yeah.
positions where my entire income was based completely off my performance.
Yeah.
Um, and I think for me the biggest challenge is I come from a family where my dad was the model of humility and never gave himself credit, and so I think
Mm.
naturally that's been passed on to me, and so to sell myself
Yeah.
was probably the hardest part of this,
Yeah.
to get on podcasts at first, to share more on social media,
Yeah.
because of whatever fear I had that a lot of times isn't true. It's just made up in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to I think that the struggle for me is, hey, I'm going from selling a product or service of something else I believe in to, hey, now I believe in myself, and here's why you should work with me. And so that
Yeah.
was probably the biggest challenge for me, and that's not going to be the same for every person. And I think at some point, I think what's helped me is saying things out loud. A lot of
Mm.
times, if I just think about things,
Yeah.
there's something to whether it's having a conversation with somebody, maybe speaking out some affirmations out loud. Sometimes I say some of the thoughts I've had out loud, and I'm like, that's the most ridiculous thing in the
Yeah.
world. I can't believe I think that every day about myself, and it just helps me realize how important it is speak things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the moments have come where I've been with my wife and I've said, "Hey, what if I just quit my job?" And then like all the stress melted off of my plate. It's like, wow, I'm glad I said that out loud. Like,
Wow. Yeah. I like that bit you're saying about selling yourself. Do you, because I think that's the biggest thing is I'm a songwriter, and I haven't written for years, but that's a big part of my background. And I always used to struggle. I've actually had a big breakthrough just recently, but I used to struggle with um, if you wrote a song and you played it, you were bearing your soul. And there was that whole sort of fear of well, exactly that selling yourself. This becomes very
yeah,
personal all of a sudden, and what if I get hurt? What if
yeah,
people, I'm past that now, but it was a big thing for me, and and I think that money stops a lot of people kickstarting their idea, but I also think but that well, I'm going to have to do my own sales. I'm going to have to do my own marketing. I'm going to have to actually go out now and tell people, hey, guess what? I'm now an artist that can charge you money. Do you know that sort of stuff? And I wonder if that's one of the biggest preventers, that gets in people's way. But it's scary.
it is. Yeah, I think so. And I think to your listener, if you're thinking that, just look around at the others who do it. If they can, you can. Right? I don't know if you've ever been. There's been times where I've been in a room and someone's speaking on a stage, and I meet this person or talk to them, and not to discredit them, but I talk to them and go, "Man, if they could do this, I totally could do this."
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And
So there's two parts of that. One is
yeah,
far out. If they can, I can. Like as in, my God, how did they ever do it? But the other
right,
part to that is that I love people coming on this podcast and sharing that it hasn't been easy. That they do have self doubt. That they do lack confidence in areas that they have had to push through something. Because I don't want people um, who want to kickstart something to be thinking that everybody else who's doing it is perfect. Everybody else who's doing it just has this confidence and has this, swagger about them, and they're so brilliant, but I don't have that because that's a load of crap. We all have this self-doubt. We all have to push through something. And if you don't push through it, you're an arrogant dickhead, really. If you think, oh no, I'm so bloody cool, I can do whatever I want. Like that's fake and crap because all of us, all of us poop our pants about something. We're not.
yeah,
So I love you talking about that. One last thing, and I just have to ask you, you're a private pilot. What does that mean?
yeah. I maybe this was my midlife crisis, but part of
You're not even
part of
there
all
yet.
of I know. I guess I had one early. Maybe I'll have two before I'm said and done. No, I during that time I was traveling quite a bit. I often worked 2.5 hours away, sometimes 3 hours away from home. I was got to where I was running a sales team remotely, and just talked to a friend one day that he had his private pilot's license, and he has a little plane and flies around, and said, "Hey, well, since I'd said to my wife, I wish I could double myself." And then 2 days later, I'm talking to him, and he says, "Oh, since ever I started flying, I feel like I've doubled. I can be in two places, go to two places in a single
Oh,
day, and not spend the
wow.
whole day on the road." And I just had this little light bulb moment, and so I think it was I'd always as a kid wanted to fly. I mean, I don't know what kid doesn't want to fly, I guess, but
Yeah,
maybe that's. But I always, as a kid, at least dreamed of flying and thought, "Oh, that's not possible. I'm never going to be able to do it." And after I talked to my friend, I thought, well, I could do that, and looked into it, and I could take lessons at my own pace and learn, and it wasn't near as expensive as I thought it was going to be to get into it and get my license. And so I just thought, once again, my thought of my kids and thought, well, I want my kids to see that when dad wanted to do something, he went for it. And
yeah, yeah.
so I got my license, and I own a plane with a partner, just a two-seater plane. It's a little airplane, and just have really loved general aviation and being able to fly. So I'm not traveling near as much. I don't have as much of a reason anymore, and it's just something I really love and enjoy.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. And yes, the fact that you could just do it and you did just do it, I love that. When you say about kids wanting to fly, I used to, and I had this in primary school, always had dreams that I was flying around the primary school, like only about, I don't know, maybe 3 foot off the ground, and I never have those dreams anymore, but I used to love having those dreams, just gliding around the school, flying, at like shoulder height to everybody. Damn it, you've made me realize. Oh, damn it, Drew, you've made me realize I'm missing out.
Well,
I'm
you
gonna
can
get
do
those.
it. I know a man in his oh, what was he? I know a man near here that 85 years old and he just got his private pilot's license.
Oh, good.
So I guess there's nothing that can stop you at any age if if you really want something.
I agree.
So
I heard about a man wrote his first book when he was 80, 81 or something like that. And I know a lot of people say, I'm too old, I'm too old, I'm too old. And now I'm at that age I can say, bullshit, I'm too old and I still do it. So don't call me age card. Don't bloody call that. Uh, Drew, I've loved this conversation. Where can people find you? Thank you.
best place would either be social media or my website. So if you look for me on any of the major platforms, the Everyday Sales Leader, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. I've got a YouTube channel, and then my website's theeverydaysalesleader.com.
.com. All right, fantastic. I'll post those in the show notes so people can find you and follow you and reach out if they want to and all that sort of stuff. So I really
Awesome.
appreciate this conversation, Drew. It's been
Yeah, Karen,
fabulous
it's
and
been fun.
yeah,
Yeah,
good laughs.
thank you.
I
Totally.
might go back to bed, see if I can have a flying dream. I don't. I always dream about bloody poor animals being sick. Now it's
Uh,
this internal stress that I'm not aware of consciously, but I'd like to go back to flying. Anyway, thank you
yeah,
so much, Drew. I really appreciate it.
yeah. Thank you,
Catch you
Karen.
soon. Bye bye.